ladies. Welcome to the Created Woman podcast, where faith meets fashion. This show is for dreamers, doers, and entrepreneurs, and of course, fashionistas. I want to help you discover your God-sized dream and purpose, because as created women, we are called to create for the good of others. So let's take the journey together. This is the Created Woman podcast, and I'm your host, Heather Frierson. Hey friends, welcome to the show. On today's show, I got to talk to one of my favorite stylists of all times from our Created Woman magazine days, Windy Cumberbatch. If you didn't know it, from 2011 to 2014, we had a full-blown print magazine that eventually turned digital that featured articles and, of course, amazing fashion editorials. What I remember most fondly about that time were the photo shoot days, when a team of stylists, makeup artists, photographers, and a whole lot more would come together and create just beautiful art. It was truly so much fun and such a great learning experience watching all these creatives come together in one place and create such masterpieces. It was the epitome of how faith meets fashion. Back then, I understood a little bit of how God was taking these two things that on the outside seemed so different and really completely opposite to bring them together so that women could understand who they are created to be, both inside and out. You see, I had come from this world of fashion where so many women were empowered to lead and who were stylish and confident, only to find that when I went into the ministry, I would see a lot of these same women completely broken on the inside. On the flip side, I also began to notice women who knew the Bible, had a strong relationship with Jesus, and were mighty prayer warriors, but looked like they were the last to be taken care of. And what I found is that the reason they were the last to be taken care of was because they didn't feel like they were important enough to take the time out for themselves. It was like one extreme to the other. On one hand, women would spend hours and a whole lot of money, I might add, to maintain the outside, only to be broken on the inside. Then on the flip, women who were serving, loving, and teaching so many didn't feel valuable enough to take care of themselves. It didn't make sense. At all to me. That's when the Lord started showing me just how faith and fashion would go together. It would be a journey for women. Some needed healing on the inside, while others needed to understand that they were ambassadors of Christ, that God had given each of us a personality that was a reflection of Him, that we, and the Bible tells us, that we are His bride. Once we know who we are, our identity and purpose, our fashion really just becomes a reflection of who God created us to be. It's how faith meets fashion. Of course, what I also love is how God used these two amazing passions of mine to help other women. He didn't take away from me when He called me to leave the fashion industry to go into ministry. He was just training me for my next season. A season that I'm in right now, really, where I get to use my gifts and talents to point people back to Jesus. It's what He does and what He is doing in the life of our guest today, Windy. Her story of physical healing and how He is using her love for fashion truly is a story of where faith meets fashion, and you are going to love and adore Windy just as much as I do. Enjoy. Well, hey, Windy, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, Heather. I'm so excited to be with you today.
I love that we get to do this show together because the listeners will hear this is not our first time to work together. We've worked together a lot.
Yes, we have.
I can't wait to share those stories. But before we do, tell everybody what you're wearing and what your background looks like for those that are listening to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. So today I thought it would be fun to wear a piece that represents some of the spring trends as far as colors. And so today I'm wearing a floral print blouse in two of my favorite colors, pink and Kelly green.
Love it.
I love a great bow tie. So all the things are kind of coming together in this blouse. And my favorite loafers, I know you can't see them, but I've got on some pink loafers. Girl, listen, those are about 27 edit, and they are, I mean, you can literally walk.
You're a loafer girl. You are a loafer girl. Now that you said that, I'm like, I think that's what I always see you in, or a fabulous pair of loafers.
Yes, I love a good loafer. And here in my office, I have my favorite girl.
Yeah.
Every have one of these.
I need one.
Every girl should have a bust in her office, and it has, just a bunch of French words and pairs. And then I'll scoot down my logo above my head.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got a little tree, and then I love white flowers.
Yeah. You just got the whole setup. You were ready for the backdrop with your mannequin bust, your logo, your fashion, and I'd have to say too, loving the blonde hair these days.
Thank you. I actually was thinking about, going darker, but then I started looking through pictures and I'm like, no, I think I actually like it.
You have always been so unique in the way you show up. Fabulous, always. But when you walk into a room, all eyes just turn, you're just like, okay, tell me the story. Because you always have a story on, which, obviously you're a stylist, so makes sense. So introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do. And I can't wait to share all the things. So go for it.
Well, I'm Windy Cumberbatch, and I am a personal fashion stylist and life and image coach. And I am the owner of Styled by Windy, and it is my dream to just really help women feel confident in the way that they look and feel and bring out the best in them. We've got so many women out there today who are just carrying all of these, dreams, and they just need a little bit of confidence in order to kind of propel them forward. So that's my goal with Styled by Windy, and being able to offer image consulting services to kind of just help complete the package of what's already inside.
Well, what I love about you and about this show too is that this show really is about fashion and faith, because you are for sure a fashionista that really helps women, but your faith in God is what transcends it all. I have watched you through the years, and we'll get into that story. There's a gap in between your businesses because you had a journey that you've been on that God has carried you through of healing, physical healing, and I'm sure there's some emotional and spiritual healing in there as well. But when you say Styled by Windy, you haven't been able to say that business name as active business name for about 6 years. Am I right?
You're right. Yes, about 6 years. I was thinking about that too, and thinking about it right now. I my hands start to sweat because a lot has happened in those 6 years.
It has. But I want to get in first of the fashion part and tell me, why is it so important to you, even as a believer, to help women feel their best, look their best, and how God is using you, your gifts and talents? Because we say you're a creative woman. He's created you to point people back to Jesus through your gifts and talents. And I don't know if until the last 10, 15 years that people understand that really well. And people are still getting it. That can mean fashion too. So how has God really prepared you for this job? And why is it important?
I think, just kind of going back a little bit, even from a young girl, I just remember watching my mom. My mom has always been, or was always, a woman of faith, but she always looked amazing. She would go and do presentations. She would speak at our church, and she just really instilled in me the importance of looking great and helping and using that as a tool or a catalyst to propel you forward for whatever the task is in front of you. And so thinking about that, fast forward, I really feel like God is calling me and using fashion really as a stepping stone to just encouraging women and helping them to discover their personality, who they really are. Because a lot of times I come in contact with women who they're suppressing things because they're so busy being mom, they're being the wife, they are pursuing other careers that maybe they're not passionate about, but quite honestly, it's it's paying the bills. But there's so many things that are inside of them, and they just need some guidance on how to kind of really pull it all together. And so where I think fashion comes in is that when you look good, you feel good, right? You feel like you're on top of the world. I know there are days where I just don't feel great physically in my health, but if I put on like my favorite lipstick, or if I put on my favorite blouse, or whatever that thing is, there's a shift in my mindset. I may not be feeling any better, but on the inside, there's a switch that comes on that really takes me to a different level and causes me to be able to push forward and really keep going. Mm-hmm. And so over the years where I've been able to work with women, just seeing their confidence level really increase and seeing them believe in themselves again, and making time outside of all the things to really pursue what God has put inside of them. So it all starts with, I think if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be confidence, or even Godfidence.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And it's so true. And we get that question a lot, is how do you combine faith and fashion? And it really comes after that, a whole identity process and knowing your purpose. And you said those words in a roundabout way when you said, it's the stepping stone to discover your personality. And that personality comes from God. He created us all uniquely and have different ideas and thoughts. And if we can show up that way, I always think about that little story I've heard over and over of how the receptionist wanted to be an executive one day. And she saw them carrying briefcase. So she brought a briefcase every day. And the only thing that was in it was her lunch. But it was what God had put into her as a dream and a goal. So she presented herself that way. And I love that. So if there are women here listening and they're like, girl, you don't know my story. I got 4 littles. I'm trying to do a side hustle here, because we have so many moms now that are actually doing side hustles. Because there's so many opportunities to do that, but that side hustle doesn't necessarily allow them or makes them have to get dressed. What would you say would be the first thing as a stylist? Where would you start?
Well, I've been there, especially in the current climate that we're in right now, where everything is, it's easy to say, well, it doesn't really matter how I show up. I would say start with the basics. Start with just a little bit of mascara, a little bit of lipstick, whatever your favorite thing is, and start from there. I say start from the waist up, a nice blouse, maybe a cool hat, but, start using with baby steps.
Yeah.
Because no matter what the situation, no matter the environment, you want to always present yourself in the best possible light.
Right.
At all times, even if you're just running to the grocery store, because it's easy for me to think, I'm just going to run to the store really quick. Guilty. But I can hear my mom in the back of my head saying, you know what? You always want to be a best representation of yourself.
Yeah. And that's what my 10-year-old says that to me a lot, because, we got really lazy during quarantine. And she's like, Mom, like, we'll be going to church specifically. We're back at church, thank God. And she's like, Mom, why do we have to be perfect? And I'm literally asking them to wear a Target dress, And I said, it's not perfection that I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to be appropriate. There's a difference between perfectionism, sloppy, and appropriate. We don't want to be sloppy. We don't need to be perfectionist, but we need to be appropriate. And so she kind of gets that. I think she's just balking at having to take off her shorts and t-shirt for a Sunday morning or whatever, but it's true. It's be appropriate. So on the flip side of that perfectionism, if you're working with a client that is struggling with that, how do you flip that script?
What do you, in what instance? You mean someone who?
Yeah, well, they're all about just clothes. There's no identity. There's no God factor. It's just all the things that the world pushes out there for us that can put you over the edge. How do you then bring us back in as believers to say, this is the balance?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And sometimes I have to speak that to myself, encourage myself. And one of the things that I think is very important is to really take time to listen and really understand, who does God say that you are?
Yeah.
Are you feeling that you need to dress up for other people? Are you doing it because you love it? Are you doing it to impress other people? What's in really understanding the why behind it? What's driving it?
That's really
so
good.
that you can make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons and with the right motivation. When I get dressed up, I really and truly wear things that I love, and I try really hard not to allow outside influences really drive that, because that can become overwhelming.
Yeah.
Trying to change all of the latest trends, or feeling like every new product that comes out, or every new piece or style that comes out, if you are so caught up in that, you'll stress yourself out. So you really have to dig deep, spend alone, quiet time with the Lord to understand, who am I? Who do you say that I am? And then walk in that, so that you're not running around chasing all of these things that's not even making you happy. What makes you happy? What is pleasing to the Father as it relates to Windy? Who does God say that Windy is? And really helping clients to understand who they are, and then creating what I like to say a visual representation of who they are inside.
A visual representation of who they are inside. That's beautiful. And don't you think, just by what you're saying, that when we ask who I am, we have to do that in every area, because we can get to that level of perfectionism with work, with motherhood, with our home, and it can spill out in every way. And I think there's a lesson in there for all of us in different areas of our life. So if someone wants to work with you, what are the types of things that you do?
Oh my gosh. I really specialize in.
Say that again, it cut out.
Wardrobe updates. So updating your wardrobe, whether that's once a year, seasonal, or twice a year. Closet detox, where I help clients kind of go through their closet. What have you not worn in the last 6 months or longer that you could potentially donate, or maybe try to incorporate some other pieces to continue to wear it. So really going through closets and helping ladies that way. I also offer a service that's called a Luxe package. So this is a service for someone who might have a speaking engagement or a conference, and they need multiple looks.
Yeah.
And you also need an on-site stylist to kind of be with them to make sure that all of the pieces are lined up, the accessories and everything. So, and I also do customized packages, because sometimes people just need one thing for a or one thing for something, a wedding or something really quick. But those are the top things that I really specialize in. And then I also offer a service where I have been asked on occasion to go and speak to businesses or corporations who really want to help their employees improve their image as they're working with clients.
I love it. So you and I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to get into some other stuff that I can't wait to hear about. You and I, we knew each other for a while before we started working together. But then when we started working together, I mean, I have to tell you, there's some people in your life that you like, I just love them, love them. And you are just someone that I just adore. Like, I could cry just thinking about it. I just love you so much. And I think when we started working together, there was just this magnetic spark for me, hopefully you too, but that I just adored you. And we had the magazine for Creative Woman. If people listening maybe don't know, that's how we started Creative Woman. We didn't know it was going to be this big of a ministry. And we would do these magazines 4 times a year, which required tons of photo shoots or one full day of photo shoots, sometimes 2. And you are on set stylist that would pull the clothes, pre-hand, style the models. So much fun.
Much fun.
It was during a season, you were doing Austin Fashion Week. You had this clientele. You were coming to photo shoots. I mean, so fun. And I'm going to post some pictures when this podcast airs of some of that because it is just, I love it. But I remember, and I was telling my husband this the other night, telling him how we were going to talk, how there was one particular photo shoot downtown. Huh?
I said, oh boy, I remember that.
Yeah, we were shooting late until the night. It was super late. Like it was like we were downtown 2nd Street, probably not the best deal. We were like, hurry, go outside, get some shots, go back inside. Yeah. But you kept saying just how tired you were. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? And you did not know why. And
I had a migraine the whole day.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that. And I didn't know why though at that time.
Yeah. So now you know. So tell us a little bit about that journey because I know it ties in so well with your faith and what God has taught you through it. So that night, the photo shoot, we didn't know. We knew that it had been reoccurring tiredness and
yes, I was always tired, migraines. And when I say tired, I mean something that you can't even really describe in words. A tiredness that it doesn't matter how much sleep you get. You just cannot, you can't seem to get enough rest. And so off and on from 2003 till 2014, I had been experiencing things just as you described. And finally, after going to doctor after doctor, I mean, my medical file, Heather, is about this thick.
Wow.
And I finally learned that I have chronic Lyme disease, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue syndrome. And then a couple of years ago, I also found out that I have celiac disease, so I can't have gluten. So all of these things were, just that whole journey of, being made to feel by the enemy that all of the dreams that I have inside of me were just going to just kind of fall by the wayside, that I wasn't good enough, that somehow I was being punished for some reason, and that, pretty much my life was over with. And so once I got the diagnosis, I started treatment, doing fairly well. However, in December of 2017, I had a relapse and went into remission, which was far worse than I had been feeling in the very beginning or through that whole journey, where I could barely walk. I was doing IV infusions 4 times a day on some really, 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 really strong medication here in my home. I didn't drive for almost 2 years. I mean, I was in a pretty bad way. Hand tremors, memory loss, brain fog. I mean, I have a combination, Heather, over 100 different symptoms. So when I wake up, I literally lay in bed in the morning and lay there for a minute just to kind of really see, okay, how am I feeling today? But during that, I would say 18 months to 2-year time frame, I really spent a lot of time with the Lord, really crying out to him, having pity parties, to be completely transparent. because, I'm frustrated. I have so many things I want to do. And he showed me a lot of different things. One thing he showed me is that I was really putting my identity in my work and putting my trust in what that work afforded me financially, instead of leaning and trusting and depending on him for everything that me and my family need.
Wow.
And I remember, just laying there one day in the middle of an infusion, and God would just said, Wendy, do you trust me? I used to sing on the worship team years ago, and it's like, okay, did you really mean the lyrics to the songs that you sung? Do you really believe the words that appear on the pages of the Bible that you read every day, or that are in your devotion that you listen to? And that just broke me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say that I do, and I believe that I do, but I was trying to help God, but he didn't need our help, right?
Right.
So I just, made the decision right there in the bed, full on infusion going, I repented. God, please forgive me. I do trust you. I trust you, and I'm giving you all of my dreams. I'm giving you my health. I'm giving you my finances, all the things, and I'm laying those things at your feet. And then when I feel the enemy trying to bring on that fear, that anxiety, it's a daily struggle. Like, I'm not perfect, but I have to just be intentional about rebuking the lies of the enemy and giving those things that are concerning to me to God. And once I did that, little by little, I have started to feel better. I'm not 100%, but I'm certainly not where I was 2 years ago when I could barely get out of the bed.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere. I saved all of my energy for the whole week for Sunday. I would go to church on Sunday, and I would go home, get back in the bed, and do it all over again.
Wow.
And I'm so thankful for just those God moments that I had, and I continue to have. But God just really showed me, like, no, I put those dreams inside of you for a purpose and for a reason, but I need you to allow me, and in my timing, to bring those things about. Like, don't worry about anything. And don't you know, Heather, I left a job, and I was, in the beginning, I was worried, like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Can I just tell you that God told me, like, you didn't need that job. I have met every single one of your needs and then some without missing a beat.
Wow.
A new house. We bought, all kinds of things that I felt like I had to hold on to, like, find or things to be able to do it, because I was trying to control it. And God was like, see, you just sit back and let me do it. I'm going to bring all of these things to you.
Wow.
Hello, ladies. It's Kate Suquette here, your fashion correspondent, and I'm back with another fashion edition. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to take a moment to share some fun fashion tips with you. You heard some fashion tips from Wendy, so this is your fashion action item from me. Next time you go get your mani-pedi, have fun with it. Think neon mini stripes or muted pastels. Also this season, spring clean that closet. It's time to get in that closet, ladies. If you haven't worn it in the past year or two because of 2020, it's time to get rid of it. So if you can't think of a way to wear it right now, it's time to move on. Okay, ladies, don't forget that if you want Faith Plus Fashion delivered to your door, subscribe to our monthly Faith and Fashion subscription box, designed and curated to get you out of the box. Check out the show notes on how to subscribe and let us know what kind of fashion tips you want to hear about on the next show. Just head over to Instagram or Facebook to find this podcast show image and drop it in the comments. We'll see you there. All right, back to our show.
What I love about that is, one, I've seen your journey. Even just at the beginning of the show, you talking about how you help women understand their identity and their purpose and reflect that through this journey, he took your passions, but solidified your relationship with him and also your identity and who you are in him.
Yeah.
And you're stronger for it in every way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is not one thing that's good in my life that didn't come from the Father. And I know that. I know that. And even when I don't see a way, I know that He has a way. And I just need to sit back and let Him do what He does, which would be far better than anything that I could ever think of or even dream of. And so, yeah, I've really learned, and I'm still learning
Yeah.
who that person is inside of me, but I have a better idea of who that is.
Yeah. How are you feeling today, and what are you able to do?
Well, I am feeling a lot better. I still, am reminded sometimes, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I'm sick. Yeah, forgot about that.
Oh yeah, I've got this little thing.
Feeling better. I am able to drive. I don't drive far. For those of you who know my husband, Carl, he's not having it. Every now and again, I'll go for a little bit of a walk, but I can't walk too much or too far. But I'm slowly like getting my energy back and getting closer to my former self, but it's different. And so I have to be more planful on the things that I'm going to do. I mean, even going and working with a client, like I have to plan ahead all the days before, and like making sure that I'm having time of rest so that I can accomplish the things that I need to accomplish. But I'm in a much better place. I'm happier. I smile more, and that's pretty important.
It is. Well, I have to say that even there was a season, and you might still have to use it, that you were using a cane. But even your cane was fabulous. You would walk in with your cane and your top hat and your loafers, and we're like, she still looks fabulous.
That cane. Yeah, I had a leopard or animal print, a cane that my husband found for me. He's like, well, you're a fashionista, so I thought you would love this. And because I was a little, I had it for a while before I would use it, vanity, full transparency. But God's like, you're going to be just fine. You can use it as another fashion piece, another accessory to your wardrobe. But thankfully, I have no need for the cane anymore.
Praise God.
So yes, I just thank God for even in the moments where I was a little unsure of, my health and where things were going. I'm so thankful for that journey and that process, because it really brought me closer to Him, and it really helped me to just really trust Him more. And that's what He really is calling us to do.
Yeah, I love it. It's just so good to hear just all the updates. And so I told you before we started recording how just recently on Instagram, probably the last few months, you started posting again from Styled by Windy. And that's when I was like, and tell us a little bit about when this, and then we're going to go into some rapid fire questions. When did it come back, and how that you're like, okay, it's time. The Lord has released me. I'm ready to go. I'm getting my groove back, and you're on.
Yeah. I would say I started thinking about it last year, really pondering, like, is this something that I would ever get back into? And then I would say after the beginning of this year, it really like kind of clicked. And so I started, pinning things on Pinterest again, and really going and taking a look at, okay, so what are the colors of the year? What are the fashion trends? And really getting back into my fashion magazines. And Carl said, I don't know if you realize, but when you're like, the excitement and the light in your eye has reappeared. And he has been such an encouragement to me always, but he knows that fashion is like my passion. I'm really passionate about it. I was telling a friend of mine, I'm the girl who can not be feeling well, but will log into New York Fashion Week and watch all of the Chanel shows or whatever, from my bed. And so it just clicked, like, okay, it's time. Yeah. It's time for you to, you're feeling better. Now, you may not be able to go full throttle like you were before, where you're kind of all over the place. You need to be very intentional and pray about the things that you're going to do before you say yes. But after the beginning of the year, I really started exploring it a little bit more and talking to my husband about it. And he's like, if that's what you want to do, then Go
Yeah.
for it. 'Cause
And you have complete
never-
control over how many clients you can take on at a time.
Absolutely. I can manage my calendar and just do things when I feel up for it and take on that I know that I can, deliver a great result for.
I think you're such an inspiration to moms and women everywhere who might have that block mentality of, I can't do it because I have 2 kids, or I have this, because you also have 2 grown boys, college one. Did the oldest one just got married, right?
He did. He just celebrated 1 year in February, him and Ashley.
Wow. And then you have a 12-year-old still at home. So to hear that you were in bed for most of the week with a 12-year-old who's 12 now, but when this started was like 5, still was able to be a mother, but you took that time and now here you are. It is such an inspiration to women, I feel, in every stage of life to keep going. If you are still alive, God still has a plan for you. It's like that verse that I love so much when David fulfilled his promise, his, job for his generation, that then he went to heaven. And so if you're still breathing, you're like, I know there's more for me. God has a plan and purpose for me. And I just think that's so inspirational for women everywhere just to keep going. So rapid fire questions.
Uh-oh. Okay.
But all relatable. So 1, who's your favorite designer?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to say, oh, wow. Virgil Abloh with Louis Vuitton.
Oh, well, come on.
Love him. Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. How do you balance? What's the one tip that you use to balance your faith and your career, all the things?
I start each day, prayer, devotion, always first before I do anything else. I find those days that I jump out of the bed and start rushing and I don't do that first. The rest of the day is just super chaotic. Everything that could happen, that it does happen, that could go wrong. And so always start your day out in prayer and devotion.
Okay, last question. When can we expect your new blazers to come out?
Oh my goodness. I wish I had a date for you. TBD, coming soon. We literally just started the conversations, I would say about a month ago. And so stay tuned.
So adding designer to the resume, stylist/designer.
Yes, but I'm super excited. One of the favorite things, and I chose blazers because I'm in love with them. I'm in love with them. And I'm like, okay, well, this is something that, I know a lot of people don't see me on a daily basis right now, but a lot of times when I do leave the house, I do have on a blazer. And so I'm like, and I'm always cold because I'm anemic also amongst all the other things. And so that's a great layering piece that is also fashionable. So soon.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm going to be one of the first to buy your blazers. We're just going to say it right now. And we talked about having a fashion show. We're going to have a fashion show like we used to do. I have to tell one story that is so funny about the fashion show we did. We did this huge fashion show together. We did a production back in 2013 or something. I don't remember.
That was at, what was it? The North Door?
The North Door downtown. Yes.
Okay.
We had like 20 models. We had about 150 people invited or came. I can't remember, but we had a production team. We, all the things. We pulled these clothes. And so what I remember is we were at church because that was when we went to church together. And Carl, who you've mentioned, your husband, is a cop.
Yes.
So we haven't said that yet. He's a cop and he's a big man with the softest heart. Like it's like teddy bear. He came up to and he goes, so you have all these clothes and jewelry that's going to be there? I was like, yeah, we got pulled these clothes. I was so excited about it. Like we pulled this much merchandise and this and from these stores. And he goes, what kind of security do you have? Because you have that much money that's going to be upstairs and merchandise. And you have no security. I was like, didn't even think about it.
He goes, hey, listen, I talked to Heather and I'm going to kind of be keeping an eye on things. I'm like, oh, great. And we are excited about the clothes and the accessories. And he's like, and if something happens, who's responsible? We keep that under control. Yeah.
Because it was all borrowed.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Heather, guess who I recently reconnected with that you and I used to work with?
Who?
Remember Miss Sugar? Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay, so my birthday is coming up, and so I'm going to have her create something. I don't know what, but I reached out to her.
Sugar. I want to say that name again. Her name is Miss Sugar.
Yeah, she used to own, what was it called? The Sugar Factory.
Yes.
On Koenig Lane or somewhere near Burnett Road. But she's still doing some fabulous work. And I reached out to her and I said, I think I want you to make me something for my birthday. So I'll have to let you know what I ended up having her create, and maybe send you a little picture or something.
I love it. Well, I love you so much. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
So great to catch up with you. And I'm so serious about this fashion show.
Me too.
So serious.
Okay, where can everybody follow you?
On Facebook and Instagram at Styled by Windy. Windy with an I, Windy.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show today, and I know you loved hearing Windy's story and fashion tips. This show will also be on Creative Women's YouTube, so go subscribe there to get all the updates. You can find all the links from today's show in our show notes, as well as how to find Windy on Instagram. Thanks for joining us today for a dose of faith and fashion, and we'll see you in the comments on social media. Ciao!